Okay, I want to do a little intro to my jump scares video here. I actually recorded the jump scares video first, not realizing that I was going to go ahead and do an entire series of videos on horror. So, during this video, it might seem a little odd to you if you've watched all the rest of them, if I hadn't put this intro in to explain, because I do talk about it as if I haven't done any others, because at that time I hadn't. So, the next video that you're about to listen to is about the art of the jump scare, and the next two videos to wrap up my 13 days of Horror 101 leading up to Halloween will be about the game Outlast, and kind of an analysis of Outlast and how it uses elements of horror that I've been talking about in the previous videos, and where it really messed up a lot, in my opinion. So, keep your eye out for those in the next few days. Thank you for watching. On to the video. Hello and welcome to Horror 101. This is a companion series to my creative writing series. This one is focusing all on horror and is more for game designers and movie directors and writers. And, anybody, it's more about the visual aspects of horror rather than written, although obviously there will be elements to writing involved in this. Okay, and what makes me qualified to talk about this? Psychology is kind of an interest of mine. I have kind of a knack for psychology. Observation is a knack that I have. And, I'm interested in what makes things work when it comes to writing, what makes good characters, what makes good horror scenarios. Okay? So, this is all about, it's my view on the art of the jump scare. Okay, how to do great jump scares, basically. And it's particularly aimed, as I said, at game designers and people who want to make movies. Okay, now, just in case you don't know what a jump scare is, if you're watching this, I'm sure you do, but just in case, a jump scare, I'm mainly going to be talking about games here, because, it's Halloween time right now, so that's why I decided to go ahead and do this. I've already written most of these lessons I'm going to be doing, if not all of them, ahead of time, help me keep on track a bit better. And, like I said, it's the 18th of October as of the recording of this, so I thought I'd start doing some ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties type stuff. So, jump scares. What is a jump scare? Okay, so let's say you're playing a game or watching a movie, and there's a loud sound that plays, and something pops up on the screen, and you jerk back and jump, okay? It's a jump scare. That's an instinctual response to something you perceive as a threat. Something that has surprised you, so you jerk back away from it, you jump. And even when you know something's coming, it's hard to stop yourself from jumping. Okay, especially, what I mean is that it's going to happen because you've seen the movie or you played the game before, but really effective ones, the best ones, will get you every goddamn time. Because they just work. Okay? And it's one of those things that they've been overused to death a lot in horror games and in horror movies, so that they've kind of gotten cheap to a lot of people. A lot of people perceive them as being a cheap way to get a jump out of people, because you're not really scared. It might get your adrenaline pumping a little bit, but, it's not actually scary. It's not horror. It's just startled. And not everyone's scared by the same things. Sometimes just having a spider in a scene will freak some people out more than other things, and others won't be fazed at all. Clowns, phobia stuff. If you ever want a good place to get inspired for things to scare people, phobias. Look for a list of common phobias. Just do a search online. Spiders, heights, water, drowning, particularly, claustrophobia and closed spaces, being alone, the dark, that sort of stuff. You know, so they tend to over-rely on jump scares because when you do them correctly, they're going to get pretty much everybody. It's easier than trying to actually be scary. But that isn't to say that jump scares aren't useful or that they're bad. Okay? What's bad is when you overuse them, which is what people tend to do these days. They use them all the damn time, and they make them too obvious. And that's the wrong way to use a jump scare, which is what this video is all about, is how to do it correctly. Because the correct way to do it is you have to have the psychology right first. You can't just have shit pop up and startle people and expect them to like it and be scared by it. Some might like that, but a lot of people are just going to be irritated by it. Because again, it's not scary, it's just startling. Okay? And the real key to jump scares is the timing. Just like in comedy, in horror, timing is everything. Which is why some of the best horror movies are also good comedies, like Evil Dead 2. Even the original Evil Dead had comedic elements. It's why comedians, and people who do comedy often do horror pretty well. Okay, consider the Ghostbusters series. Okay, the first one, the second one, and the game that's pretty much the third movie, really. They're very funny, but they also have some moments that are really fucking creepy. Why? Because they have great timing. Okay, now unfortunately I can't tell you that there's like some perfect time to hit people with a jump scare. 50 seconds is the perfect time. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be about the build up to it, and then hitting it at just the right time. Like in the movie Independence Day has one of those great jump scares that will get people every goddamn time in the lab. Okay, most people have seen this movie at least once, so you should know what I'm talking about. They're doing the alien autopsy. They think it's dead, but it's only knocked out. It wakes up and kills everyone. Then the president and his staff go into the observation room. They see the carnage, and then the guy who played Data is the weird doctor guy. He's slammed up against the glass. Okay, it's a great jump scare. Okay, why? Because it has great timing. Okay, and what are you timing for? What is the trick to getting the best jump out of people and getting a great jump scare? It's making them expect the jump scare. Okay, that's the real trick, is that you make them know that something's going to happen. Really, the best thing to do is that you don't want them to expect necessarily a jump scare. You want them to be expecting something, but they don't know what. And then really the best way to do it is you wait until after people have basically started, just right when they're starting to settle down. That's when you hit them with a good jump scare. Okay? In my opinion, that's the best way to do it. Okay? Now, sometimes having something just come out of nowhere to jump up and scare somebody, freak people out, can work. But that's usually only going to work and be kind of scary if it's after a long stretch of nothing else happening. Okay? The thing about it is, there's a lot of balancing that goes into horror. Again, it's a lot like comedy. Has to be a balancing act. If you don't get the timing right, your punchline will be off. If you don't get your setup just right, it'll be off. If the punchline isn't quite right, your laugh might not come at all, or it might not be as good as it could be. There's a lot of balancing and a lot of timing and just working things out to where they are perfect, or as perfect as you can get. Making people think something is going to happen, creating that tension is excellent. That's what you want to do with horror. But if you stretch it out too long, it'll just fade away and people start getting bored. But at the same time, if you don't wait long enough, they'll just get numbed to what's happening, and they won't be scared anymore. There won't be any horror going on. It'll just be irritation. Okay? Which is why I think jump scares should always be used sparingly. Not very often. Okay? And should always be at the end or beginning. Really, that's their best two places to be. And in fact, my preference is beginning of a long stretch of nothing else happening and just setting up tension. You use the jump scare to freak them out and then build the tension and make them think something else is going to happen. And then eventually you get towards the end of a scene or a section of the game or something, and then you can have something else happen. Not necessarily a jump scare, but something. Okay? It depends on how you would want to play it. But the key there is that that's my feeling, is that jump scares, when used best, is either kind of a bookend situation with other shit happening in between that's meant to build tension. Okay? Because, that's the key to the whole thing, is you have to figure out when it's best to just let things ride without anything obvious happening. That's even more important than knowing when you need to put in the scare. Because if you do the tension right, you can put the scare in at any time. Like I said, you don't want to wait too long, or it might just, the tension will fade and it'll get boring, which can happen with a movie like The Shining, and a lot of Kubrick's movies. The man really liked his long stretches of nothing. Much going on. Guess I'll finish that sentence. Yeah. So, here's an example. If you're making a horror game, and it involves people wandering around and they need to open doors all the time, you only need one, maybe two, really good door-opening jump scenes really early on to make the player paranoid about opening doors for the rest of the game. Okay? Like I said, you only have to get them that one, maybe two times early on when they're playing. And after that, they're going to think that there's something on the other side of every single door they open. You toss in another scare every hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of gameplay, just to remind them that something could be on the other side of every single door, and you've got a perfect situation where the jump scare has been used successfully and usefully to make them scared. They're going to be scared to open the doors, but they have to open the doors to keep going in the game. That's horror. Okay? Sorry, I'm looking, and I'm going off of my post here that I've written already, and I just wanted to make sure I don't skip over anything. Yeah, okay, here's my thing. If you're making a game, randomness is great, especially for replay value. I know that it's harder to do random, but the way I would play it is, if I was making a game like I was just talking about, where they're going through an old house, hospital, the usual suspects type of scenario. But any kind of a game where they have to open up lots of doors to progress through the game, and again, I want to create this horror, this tension. They don't want to open the door. That's the goal, is to create a scenario where they have to open doors to keep going, but they don't want to. They're scared to open the fucking doors, but they have to open the doors to keep playing. Okay? And we want to keep that in them as much as possible while they're playing, so basically what we'd do programming wise, is that randomly one of the first few doors they open is going to have a jump scare. So going off a game like Dead Space, okay, not necessarily the actual game Dead Space, but I'm going to use it as an example. If you were making a game like Dead Space using this method, the idea would be randomly to have one of the necromorph creatures spawn right in front of a door somewhere close by every time they load the game up. Okay, it would have to be a secret feature the designer puts in specifically to make the player paranoid about opening doors no matter where they are in the game. Okay, no matter where they've saved it, no matter where they are in the game, as soon as it's loaded up, there will be something behind one of the doors close by. One that they'll have to go through to progress through the game. So that immediately when you're playing, that fear has been put back into you of opening doors. Okay, and then again, randomly, every hour and a half or so that they've been playing, again, spawn a creature or some sort of a random jump scare behind one door that they have to go through soon to keep that fear alive. Okay. So, and then at this point in the post, I've got a couple of videos up. One is PewDiePie playing one of the scary point-and-click games, and the other is that stupid pop-up jump scare commercial that's been played endlessly to people on YouTube for ages now. And I just put those in there to illustrate the difference between using atmosphere to make a jump scare effective and just having something pop up out of nowhere to scare people. One's annoying, one works as a horror, an element of horror. So, what actually makes the best jump scares? I'm gonna go into it some more. As I've been saying, the real key to it is making people expect that something's going to happen, but make sure that they can't predict when. Knowing or thinking something is going to happen is what creates the tension. And the best scares are the release of that tension. Again, it's just like a good joke. The setup is used to get people ready for the punchline, and then you have the punchline. The setup is something that makes people anticipate something, and then the punchline kind of pulls the rug out from underneath them, the wool off the eyes, the rug out from underneath them, and there's a tension and then release. Okay. So another example here, a basic outline of a haunted house game. So we're going to use the run and hide, no combat style. Okay, kind of taking some notes from some of the games. It's going to be haunted house, so there's ghosts. Now, they can't kill you directly, but let's say that the main character has a heart condition or something. So looking at them too long, just being around them too long, can scare them to death. They'll have a heart attack. Maybe he's phasmophobic. It's a serious phobia of ghosts. Okay. Either or both. Okay, so the plot is that the character has been pressured to go with some friends to a supposedly haunted mansion down the road. They go inside, they get trapped, then the main starts off alone somewhere in the house, okay? So we're going to start with a heart and adrenal output meter in the game so the player can see and hear when the character is getting scared, which will help scare them too. Just it actually does happen. If you listen to music that has a steady beat, your heart rate actually will tend to match it to a degree. I'm not saying that it will sync up perfectly or anything. It doesn't work like that. But like a song, there's this I think it's Weightless by Marconi Union is considered the most relaxing song ever made, and one of the things they use to make it relaxing is that it starts on a faster beat and very gradually decreases the pace, the tempo, the beats per minute decreases through the course of the song, so the idea is that it brings your heart rate down as you listen to it, and also faster paced music will, just listening to it increases your heart rate because you're going, dance music or whatever, rock and heavy metal, whatever your flavor is, or a little bit of everything. That's the way I am. I like most kinds of music. Not into country all that much. Don't care for polka or salsa. Don't care for most of disco. Not into most modern pop music. Most music, though. Anyway, besides the point. So, having that heartbeat present will actually help to increase their heart rate, the player. My preference on music, and I could do a whole video on scary music probably, but I think the whole using music as a trigger mechanism is overplayed. I think that in horror games and movies and stuff, the music should be atmospheric. Okay, you can actually include elements to the music that sounds like it's telling them that something's going to happen to creep them out, but don't actually have it ever mean anything. It's just there to be creepy and to set the atmosphere. Okay? Suddenly have violins trilling. That's been used for ages to try or to signal that something's wrong in movies and games. So, just having a piece of music where suddenly these violins start trilling out of nowhere, just kind of make them go, oh fuck, what's going to happen? Then nothing does. It just makes it creepier. Okay, backstory. What do we want for our backstory here? I'll use something simple. The mansion is a weird place. It was built by a very eccentric family. As the player goes through, they're going to uncover a variety of nasty things that happen there, of course. Wouldn't be much of a horror haunted house if there wasn't nasty shit going on. So, incest is always good for fucking around with people's heads. Ritualistic cannibalism and necrophilia. Murdered locals, of course. You can toss in some aborted incest babies, murdered runaway family members, and a family cult, to add some depth and, let's say, flavor to the pot. And all of this mostly will just be shit that they kind of uncover through the game. The idea, it's to be unsettling. We don't necessarily want to just present people with gory or obvious taboo stuff. It's flavor for what's going on right there in front of them. Okay. So, for the first 15 to 30 minutes of gameplay, we don't really want anything to happen that makes them feel like they're in any necessarily real danger. Obviously, the player's going to know that something's going to happen, but they're not sure when it's going to happen. So they're just going to end up wandering around an area of this old, creepy-ass mansion for 15, 30 minutes. They're going to uncover some backstory stuff, paintings that are a bit strange, perhaps. Like a painting of a father and daughter, and just something about it seems a little sexual, perhaps. That sort of thing. Just little things like that can be so very effective. It doesn't have to be obvious, and of course not everybody's going to pick up on it. That's why you seed stuff all through a game and a movie. You don't necessarily have to call attention to it. It's what people aren't sure about, and The unknown. When you don't know what's coming, when you don't know exactly what's going on, when you suspect things but aren't sure, that's when you start getting into fear, tension, doubt. These are the emotions of good horror. Okay? So again, for the first 15 to 30 minutes, what we're going to do for this game, this hypothetical game, is purely psychological. Seeding in things to hint at the dark practices of this family, just the atmosphere, freak them out. And then, after about that, depending on how long you think you can get away with this before boring people, they're going to open a door, and there will be a ghost right on the other side of it. I mean, I'm talking about, I want this to be, they open the door and start going through the doorway, and the ghost is right there in their fucking face. And not a cutscene. I want it basically to be, they open the door and start going through like normal, and then the ghost appears right there in front of them. And then you kind of get the cutscene just long enough. Well, a snap of the finger is a bit fast, but long enough to really freak them out, then the ghost is gone. It's going to be the first time they run into a ghost, so they're going to run away and hide. Okay? Well, I guess I got ahead of myself. So yeah, they're going to run away and the ghost, scramble away. The ghost is going to lose interest and fade away. Alright, so we've created our paranoia about opening doors. And of course, the player was expecting something like that to happen, but they didn't know when it was going to happen. And it took quite a while for it to happen, so they're going to have let their guard down. We will have been building up tension based around other things in the game, and they're going to have kind of let go of the idea, oh, okay, they're not going to do that. It's been too long, it would have happened by now, and then that's when we do it. We create the tension in other ways and get them to forget that shit could be on the other side of the door, and then we hit them with something on the other side of a door. So now, through the rest of the time they're playing, they're going to be reluctant to open doors. They're going to be afraid of opening doors. We have confirmed their expectation that something like that was going to happen, and now that they know it could happen, they have no idea when it'll happen again, so that's fear. It's simple, it's good. If you make them reluctant to do something, then force them to do it. That is the bedrock of any good horror movie or game. Okay? And again, we stick in another door jump scare every couple of hours worth of gameplay. Again, it's just often enough to remind them that opening doors can get them killed and scare the fuck out of them. You don't do it often enough for them to get used to it. Just often enough to remind them. So that, again, every single time they open a door, they might end up standing there debating on whether or not they want to open it. Can I get any further in this game without opening that damn door that I haven't opened yet? No, fuck. I've got to open this door. I don't want to open the door. There could be something on the other side of the door that's going to scare me. I don't want to do that. That's how you get them. That's how you hook them. And you don't even make the timing consistent if possible. I'd say every 1.5 to 2 hours, 2.5 hours probably, randomly spawns a ghost in front of a nearby door, as I was talking about earlier. Okay. Again, the idea is to use the jump scares to create paranoia and tension. It's not to bombard them and make them jump constantly, because you get used to being made to jump constantly. What you never get used to is when you jump makes you paranoid about doing anything or moving through an area. Okay, you can't get used to that. Once that doubt has been planted in the mind, it's hard to shake it. That's the best use of jump scares, in my opinion. Okay. And then, you can also use trap jump scares, which is puzzles that they have to do the right way, otherwise a ghost pops up to attack them. Anything where if they do something wrong, there's a jump scare that occurs. But not every time. See, that would be the real key. Again, I love the idea of randomness and dynamics in games. It's not done enough. And I can't imagine that it's really that hard to just add a subroutine that's like 25% chance of something happening or not happening. You know, let's say it's a puzzle scenario, and if they get it wrong, there's a 25% chance that nothing happens, a 50% chance that a weak ghost pops up. Well, let's say 20% chance or 30% chance nothing happens, 60% chance that a weak ghost pops up that won't really pursue him all that much, it's just to scare him, and 10% that a really nasty ghost pops up that can really kill him, you know, and, you know, is much harder to shake, okay? Maybe even more degrees to it than that. But, I mean, just those three options, that means that replay value is there because it's not going to be the same every single time. And again, it's that expectation. It's like, and you don't have to have that happen right away. If they fuck up the puzzle, it can, again, randomly spawn the ghost somewhere close by, but they won't know for sure if it did or not. And again, all you need is like 5 variations on the puzzle. Yeah, I mean, after they've played through a few times, they'll know how to beat the puzzle, and they can always look it up if they want to. But that still means that there's replay value. They have to play the game a minimum of 5 times to get to play the puzzle, all 5 puzzles. And of course, they'll get the same one a few times, so it'll be more than 5 times. You know, just these little randomized things adds replay value, and it adds extra tension and doubt. Because, like I said, let's say you play through the whole game once, and then you just decide, okay, there's, you know, stuff in this game that changes from time, you know, randomly. I'm going to play through it again, and they get different changes. So they come to an area they were at before, but the puzzle's different. So they have to figure out this new puzzle, and they fuck it up. But they don't know what happened. There's a chance that a ghost didn't spawn at all. There's a chance that it's a weak, easy to get rid of ghost, and there's a chance that it's a really, really nasty customer. And they don't know where it is. They don't know what it's going to do, and they don't know what might happen. That's horror. Then, you know, there are noise and object scares, which are irritating but also kind of fun. It's like something is happening that's kind of creating tension, and then the phone rings, or a book falls, or something, you know, even a ghost type of thing, book flying off the shelf. So you add in a few things like that, especially like a disconnected phone ringing, painting, you know, things like that are really effective jump scares. You combine that with roaming ghosts that have to be evaded, eventually finding all their friends dead, but not all at once. See, that's one of the things. We're going to want to keep the friends alive for various periods of time, and then they will die later. But not around the character that the player is playing, the PC character. Player character. Okay? So they're going to come across their corpses, sometimes more than once, and because they'll move. Okay? You change things in rooms, which can be as simple as just having a painting suddenly get skewed or be upside down. Things appearing on walls. You know, little type of things. Mini jump scares, if you will, just like seeing something in the mirror as you look past, but then you look back and it's not there anymore. Did I see it? Random weird noises. You know, all that good shit creates tension, and you have plenty of scares of a variety. You're not just relying on jump scares to make people go, oh my god, so scary. No, it's not. And then you have the crazy backstory shit going on, and you have the makings of a great horror game. You know, it's the balance. You know, if you do stuff too often, they're just going to get used to it. If every single room has something change that's really obvious, then of course they're going to get used to it. It's like, oh, I'm going to go in this room and something's going to change. You do it subtly, again, just like a painting turning upside down. They may not even notice that. They could play the game several times and only notice it once, because it could be random. Again, it's just, things don't always have to happen in a game. I don't understand why this mechanism isn't used more often. I don't understand why it would be so hard to add in trigger mechanism, and instead of making it so it happens every time, you have, you know, a random chance of it triggering or not. And you have different things that can trigger in each room, and one of them, you know, it triggers half the time, and then there, you know, if this particular room does have something trigger, there's a list of things that can trigger in that room, and then it randomly picks one of those. You add a lot of replay value very simply, and you're never really sure if something's going to happen or not. You make 75% of all that stuff subtle, like just a painting turning upside down with no noise or anything. It just, they look away from it and then it's upside down. Or a bed that is all fucked up suddenly being made. Or even more subtle, a bed suddenly appearing to have somebody sitting on it, you know, just an indentation. Shit like that, they're not necessarily going to notice it. But when they do, it'll be like, ooh, what the fuck? And back out slowly. Okay? You do 75%, 80% of all of your stuff that happens subtle like that. 20% obvious and intended to really mess with them. Then, again, you add in the randomness, so you have replay value and never really being sure if something's going to happen or not. The crazy backstory. There's no way to fight the ghosts because they're not physical, which is about the only time that mechanic actually makes sense, is when the things that are dangerous aren't dangerous because of physical damage they can do to you. It's because of the fear they cause you. You know, all these things together makes for, you know, the possibility of a really good horror game. Okay. So, the next video, I'm turning German all of a sudden. The next video I'm going to be doing on horror is, I'm going to be kind of going through Outlast a little bit. The PewDiePie playthrough is what I'm going to be using as my reference. Again, this is stuff I've already written down. I'm just going to be riffing on it, improving based off of what I've already written for the videos here. And I'll go ahead and put the link to the actual post in the description so you can go check that out for this video, and then also for the ones for Outlast will be in the same section of the forum, my website. And basically what I'm going to be doing with Outlast is I'm just going to be kind of using his playthrough, or what I've done is I used about half of his playthrough just to point out some things that are really good about scary games, and then things that they did really wrong with Outlast. What they did right and what they did real wrong. Like I said, I only did about the first half of the game because once they got into what they're doing wrong, that's what they did the whole game, the rest of the game. Most of what they did right was early, and then it just kind of devolved in the tedium, if you will. But that's the next videos. I might, I did 4 posts on that. I don't know if I want to do 4 videos. Might do it in just one long video or a couple of videos. I'm not sure yet. But that's the next horror video I'll be doing. Is definitely going to be the kind of an analysis of Outlast. Not really a review so much as an analysis. And the reason I use PewDiePie is because I find him amusing, and when I'm trying to objectively and analyze a game, a horror game or something, without actually trying to get into the game and be freaked out by it, I just want to analyze what's going on. It's good to have him talking to keep me from getting spooked at all. So, I believe that covers the art of the jump scare, Horror 101. Thank you very much for watching. Let me go ahead and do my YouTube stuff here. Go ahead and give me that upvote. That's always appreciated. Subscribe so you know when I put up new videos. Leave any comments you might have, questions you might have. I'll do my best to answer. If you have any other horror, just anything about horror games and movies and writing and stuff you'd like me to cover, ask and I will do my best to answer. Even if I have to research the topic, I will do so. If I can. I'll do my best. And my traditional warning to trolls: if you try and troll me, I do troll back, and I can get pretty mean, because I don't like you. I don't like trolls. If you are one, try me at your own risk, if I even bother replying to you. Because I really don't care. I just don't like you. I don't like trolls, as I said. So if I bother to reply to you at all, I'll do my best to fuck with you as harshly as I can. So, again, try me at your own risk. And I think that wraps it all up. One last time, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your viewership. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.